if antidepressants work for Brooke Shields, why isn't that okay?
I disagree with it.
Katie Holmes has finally broken her silence, exposing alarming details about her relationship with Tom Cruise that have been buried for years. What she's about to reveal will challenge everything you thought you knew about their high-profile marriage, the involvement of Scientology, and the true reasons for their abrupt and covert separation. Stay tuned as we explore the secret tale of a Hollywood romance that enthralled the globe but came at a cost much greater than fame. Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes' tale started in 2005, a pivotal year in both of their lives. Tom Cruise was already a Hollywood star, one of the most well-known and respected performers in the world. Cruise captivated audiences around the world with his magnetic charm, distinctive laugh, and boyish smile in a series of blockbuster films. From his breakout role in Top Gun as the daring fighter pilot Maverick to the heartwarming, Oscar-winning performance in Jerry Maguire, and not to mention his action-packed portrayal of Ethan Hunt in The Mission Impossible series. Cruise was the personification of Hollywood nobility. Katie Holmes, on the other hand, was best recognized for playing the serious and brilliant Joey Potter in the adolescent drama Dawson's Creek. Though she had yet to attain Cruise's superstardom, Holmes was a rising star in her own right, with her girl-next-door charm, natural beauty, and a reputation for portraying sympathetic characters. Holmes had a devoted fan following. Her image was one of a wholesome, down-to-earth young lady, in stark contrast to the flashy and sometimes unreachable personalities of many Hollywood actors. Their paths intersected in an almost inevitable manner, but there was also an element of serendipity involved. Holmes, who grew up watching Cruise's films, publicly acknowledged to having a crush on him as a young girl and even fantasized about marrying him. Little did she realize that her childhood ideal would become a reality. Their romance started like a whirlwind, with a courtship that broke Hollywood dating rules. The pair made their first public appearance together in April 2005, and almost immediately, the world took note. There was palpable electricity between them. Cruise, the seasoned and confident celebrity, and Holmes, the fresh-faced, somewhat naive young actress. Despite the age gap, Cruise was 16 years older. Their romance soon became the subject of tabloid headlines. The relationship was not just fast-paced, but also well-publicized. Just a month after their romance became public, Cruise delivered one of television history's most legendary moments. During an appearance on The Oprah Winfrey Show, Cruise, filled with passion, hopped on the sofa, raising his fists in the air and declaring, "I'm in love. I am in love." The sheer excitement of the occasion was both frightening and charming, leaving the crowd astounded. This dramatic revelation exemplified the passion and intensity that appeared to characterize their relationship in the early stages. The video rapidly went viral, establishing their connection as a significant source of public curiosity and controversy. Katie Holmes, for her part, looked caught away by the relationship. In interviews, she often expressed her adoration for Cruise, portraying their relationship as a dream come true. She once commented on those early days, stating, "When I met Tom, I was completely in love, and I did admire him growing up. I felt as if I was on top of the world." Holmes' relationship with Cruise was more than simply romantic. It was about living out a dream she had had since she was a teenager. The couple's connection developed at a rate that few could have expected. Just 2 months into their relationship, Cruise proposed to Holmes atop the Eiffel Tower in Paris. On June 17, 2005, the engagement was revealed to the public, with Cruise proudly showing off the engagement ring, a magnificent 5-carat diamond. For fans and the media, it seemed like a real-life fairy tale was developing in front of them. Their engagement was quickly followed by much larger news. The couple were expecting a kid. They announced Holmes' pregnancy in October 2005, and their daughter, Suri, was born in April 2006. Suri's birth sparked a media frenzy, with the couple initially opting to keep their daughter out of the public view, which fanned interest and suspicion about their private life. Throughout this time, Cruise and Holmes were widely regarded as Hollywood's golden couple. They attended at red carpet events together, always smiling and clearly in love. The media portrayed a wonderful love tale. A gorgeous, wealthy leading man and his stunning, devoted spouse are enjoying a real-life fairy tale. However, others were concerned about the intensity and speed with which their connection was developing, the suddenness of their engagement, as well as the public nature of Cruz's vows of love, raised the possibility that their relationship was not as idyllic as it looked. Critics questioned whether Holmes, who had little experience with the demands of such intense public scrutiny, was really prepared for the life she was embarking on. Nonetheless, in those early days, Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes's courtship enthralled the globe. The narrative appeared too good to be true, a narrative about love, passion, and a goal realized, and for a time, it seemed like they were living the ideal Hollywood love tale, one that would endure forever. The wedding, a fairy tale of grand proportions. When Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes chose to marry, their wedding was going to be unlike any other. A lavish celebration that would not only solidify their relationship, but also highlight their position as one of Hollywood's most gorgeous couples. The excitement for the wedding was evident, with fans and media outlets guessing on every aspect, from the guest list to the attire. The day eventually came, and it did not disappoint. It was a spectacle worthy of the most lavish royal weddings. The pair decided to marry on November 18, 2006, in the Odescalchi Castle in Bracciano, Italy, a spectacular 15th-century fortification overlooking Lake Bracciano. The setting was as dramatic and romantic as the couple's love story, evoking the fairy tale element that had defined their relationship from the beginning. The castle, with its towering walls and medieval grandeur, served as a stunning backdrop for the celebration, lending it a timeless beauty. The guest list read like a who's who of Hollywood royalty, with some of the greatest names in entertainment coming in from all over the globe to witness the wedding. Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, David and Victoria Beckham, Jennifer Lopez, and Mark Anthony were among the celebrities in attendance, as was Cruise's close friend and fellow Scientologist, John Travolta. The participation of such high-profile personalities further added to the idea that this was more than a wedding. It was a big cultural event. Katie Holmes looked stunning in her handmade Giorgio Armani gown, created particularly for her by the iconic designer. The dress was a couture masterpiece with a fitted bodice, off-the-shoulder sleeves, and a long flowing train that added royal majesty to her already magnificent look. Her outfit was finished with a delicate lace veil and a bunch of cream-colored flowers, which looked stunning against the castle's rich, ancient surroundings. Tom Cruise, dressed in a traditional Armani tuxedo, looked like the pleased groom as he stood by her side, smiling with pleasure and excitement. The ceremony itself was rich in romanticism and tradition, but it also highlighted the unique characteristics of Cruise and Holmes' relationship, notably their involvement with the Church of Scientology. The wedding was held in accordance with Scientology guidelines, which, although anticipated given Cruise's well-known membership with the church, raised eyebrows and created controversy. Many people had never witnessed a high-profile wedding handled according to Scientology traditions before, which added to the event's mystery and excitement. Scientology's impact on the wedding was seen in numerous crucial aspects of the ceremony. The pair exchanged vows at a typical Scientology ritual that stressed mutual respect, trust, and the maintenance of personal integrity throughout the marriage. The vows, although unorthodox in comparison to standard religious rituals, were extremely significant to the couple and mirrored the ideals on which they wanted to base their marriage. However, the presence of Scientology at the wedding caused considerable uneasiness among both the attendees and the general public. Katie Holmes, who was reared in a Catholic family, allegedly converted to Scientology before the wedding, prompting alarm and curiosity. For many, her conversion was a substantial break from her upbringing and evidence of Cruise's and the Church of Scientology's effect on her. This fear was exacerbated by the fact that Scientology is often met with suspicion and controversy in the general public discourse. The Church's secrecy, along with high-profile defections and criticism from former members, has long piqued public interest and skepticism. Holmes, who was already under great scrutiny as a result of her connection with Cruise, now has an even more complicated public image. There were rumors that her conversion was not totally voluntary, but rather a required step for cementing her position in Cruise's universe. Despite these unsettling undercurrents, the wedding day looked to be a lovely and happy affair. The couple's love for one another was palpable in every moment. From the way they shared admiring looks throughout the ceremony to the glowing grins they wore as they posed for pictures. The event that followed was spectacular, with exquisite Italian food, a beautiful wedding cake, and a night of dancing beneath the stars. Guests were served to the best wines and foods, and the festivities lasted late into the night, even while the world watched in awe of the event's grandeur and romance. Murmurs of concern remained. The lavishness of the wedding, along with the overt presence of Scientology, has fueled conjecture about the real nature of the relationship and the dynamics at work behind the scenes. For others, the wedding was more than simply a marriage of two individuals. It was also a symbolic fusion of Hollywood splendor and the contentious world of Scientology, with far-reaching consequences for both crews and households. As they left the castle and began their new life together, the pair seemed to have everything they could ever desire. A gorgeous family, an enormous fortune, and a love that had been honored in the most dramatic manner conceivable. However, the seeds of doubt and controversy sowed on that wedding day would continue to develop, eventually leading to the dissolution of their storybook relationship. The controversies, Scientology, and control. As Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes settled into their marriage, what had once been a storybook romance evolved into something more nuanced and darker. The public's obsession with the pair, which had first been driven by their apparently ideal love story, began to alter when rumors of control and dispute emerged. These worries were centered on Cruise's extensive and long-time affiliation with the Church of Scientology, a contentious group that has long been the subject of public controversy and inquiry. Tom Cruise's involvement with Scientology was well known even before his marriage to Holmes. He had become one of the church's most famous figures, often utilizing his position to promote its beliefs and defend its policies. Scientology was more than a religion to Cruise. It was a guiding force in his life, influencing his worldview and personal philosophy. His devotion to the church was unshakable, and he had become more open about its favorable influence on his life and profession. However, as Cruise's marriage to Holmes developed, the influence of Scientology became a major focus of public attention. Reports started to emerge indicating that the church played an important part in the couple's everyday lives, with its influence extending far beyond spiritual instruction. The possibility that Scientology was exerting undue influence on Holmes, a lady educated in a Catholic family, sparked significant debate and worry. One of the most frequent accusations was that Holmes was urged, if not coerced, to convert to Scientology immediately after beginning her relationship with Cruise. The suddenness of her conversion sparked questions about whether it was a genuine decision or the consequence of external pressure. Critics of the church claimed that Holmes was being groomed to fit into Cruise's environment, where Scientology was more than a belief system, but a way of life that pervaded every element of existence. As time passed, rumors spread concerning Cruise's extent of control over Holmes. Tabloids and mainstream media both focused on Holmes's increasingly solitary existence, cut off from her friends and family. There were reports that Holmes's phone and internet activity were tracked, as well as her whereabouts. Such reports portrayed an image of a lady confined in a golden cage, constantly monitored by not just her husband, but also the strong institution with which he was so inextricably linked. The media also saw changes in Holmes's public behavior. Holmes, formerly renowned for her effervescent and exuberant attitude, looked to be more quiet and restrained in public. Her bright grin, which had previously been a mainstay of her public image, faded and was replaced by a more guarded and solemn countenance. Observers thought that the stresses of her marriage, along with the tremendous scrutiny she was subjected to, were taking a toll on her emotionally and mentally. One especially contentious component of their marriage was the rumors about their daughter, Suri's upbringing. It was generally assumed that the Church of Scientology had a keen interest in Suri's upbringing, with stories indicating that she was being groomed to follow in her father's footsteps inside the organization. The secrecy surrounding Suri's early years fueled conjecture, with many doubting the Church's influence over her education and growth. Throughout this time, Holmes stayed mainly mute about the intricacies of her life inside the marriage, contributing to the couple's air of mystery and intrigue. However, In a few rare interviews, she provided insight into the difficulties she was enduring. In one of these interviews, she said, "There was a lot of attention on me, and I had to figure out what was important and what wasn't. I had to prioritize both my daughters and my personal pleasure." Despite its ambiguity, this phrase alluded to her internal turmoil, an attempt to strike a compromise between the heavy strains of her marriage and public life and her wish to preserve her own and her daughter's safety. Despite widespread conjecture, the exact amount of Scientology's impact on Holmes and her marriage to Cruz remains a mystery. Cruz and the Church of Scientology have repeatedly refuted charges of control or undue influence. Nonetheless, the continuous rumors and tales that surfaced throughout their marriage had a lasting impact on the public's opinion of the pair. As time passed, the story of Cruz and Holmes evolved from a glamorous Hollywood love story to a cautionary tale about power, control, and the potentially damaging implications of great religious commitment on human relationships. The couple's every action was scrutinized and examined, with many assuming that the strains of their marriage, along with the impact of Scientology, were finally too much for Holmes to handle. This time of their marriage not only changed the public's perception of Cruz and Holmes as people, but it also rekindled questions about power dynamics in high-profile couples, especially when one spouse is extensively active in a contentious group. It called into question how much love and personal liberty can survive when one partner's life is highly impacted by other factors, whether religious or not. The sudden and dramatic split. Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise had been married for 5 years when the news broke in June 2012 that Holmes had filed for divorce from Cruise. The news came as a complete surprise to the whole globe. It was a shocking revelation, not just because the pair had often shown a unified front in public, but also because of the suddenness and secrecy that surrounded Holmes' decision. The declaration was a bombshell. As soon as it became apparent, it was obvious that this was not a usual celebrity split. It was an escape that had been precisely thought out and was executed with extreme precision and purpose. The date of the petition for divorce was carefully considered and orchestrated. Holmes had made the decision to submit her petition in New York City, which is a jurisdiction in which she had a better chance of receiving more favorable conditions for the custody of her daughter. Cruz was unaware that Holmes had been preparing for her departure, even though she had been doing so for many months. It was stated that she had hired a private flat in Manhattan, which was distinct from the extravagant properties that the couple collectively owned. This hidden apartment turned out to be her safe haven, a place where she could gather her thoughts and make plans for the future, away from the prying eyes of the media and the influence of Cruz and Scientology. The fact that Holmes requested sole custody of their daughter, Suri, was perhaps the most stunning piece of information about the divorce. It was clear from the motion that she was not only looking for a formal separation from Cruz, but also for a degree of independence and control over the raising of her daughter, which had most likely been difficult for her to achieve within the context of the marriage. It was just 11 days after the divorce petition was filed that the divorce was completed, which indicated that Holmes's legal team had anticipated every potential result and was ready to move quickly in order to get the most favorable settlement for her and Suri. According to the terms of the divorce settlement, Holmes was awarded primary custody of Suri, but Cruz was given substantial visiting privileges. In spite of the fact that this ending seemed to be amicable, it still aroused conjecture concerning the true motivations that had pushed Holmes to take such extreme and covert actions. There was a rapid proliferation of hypotheses, most of which centered on Cruz's extensive participation with the Church of Scientology as the primary contributing cause to Holmes' choice. The degree to which Cruz's life and, by extension, his marriage were impacted by Scientology was a topic that had been the subject of conspiracy theories for many years. Despite the fact that Holmes, who was reared in a Catholic household, was becoming more uneasy about the possibility of her daughter being brought up inside the church, there were widespread fears that the church's influence over Cruz was expanding to include Suri. Despite the fact that neither Holmes nor Cruz ever publicly verified these intentions, many people viewed the speed with which the divorce was finalized and the fact that it was conducted in secret as proof that Holmes was taking immediate measures to safeguard her daughter from the powerful organization. Shock and curiosity were the responses of the general public to the news of the divorce. The specifics of Holmes's painstakingly planned escape were uncovered by media sources all over the globe, and many of them drew analogies to a Hollywood movie in their efforts to obtain the information. The story that evolved was one of a mother who was able to regain her life and the future of her kid from the grasp of a strong and dominating entity. The ability of Holmes to negotiate such a complicated and possibly deadly situation with elegance and persistence was praised by many people, and she was praised for her bravery and forethought. After the divorce, Holmes's public image went through a considerable alteration. This change occurred after the divorce. It was formerly believed that she was principally Cruz's younger and rather submissive wife. Nevertheless, she was now seen to be a powerful and self-reliant woman who had taken courageous actions to save both herself and her kid. Holmes received an incredible amount of compassion from the general public, especially when additional information became available regarding the lengths she had gone to in an attempt to protect both her and Suri's privacy and safety. The divorce, on the other hand, is said to have come as a complete surprise to Cruz. He was regarded as being genuinely startled and grieved by Holmes's actions, according to friends and insiders, which suggests that he had been ignorant of the level to which she was unhappy. A desire on the part of both parties to avoid a drawn-out public struggle was hinted at by the speed with which the divorce was finalized, which is rare in Hollywood, where high-profile separations sometimes go on for months or even years. Cruz had a critical turning point in his public life when he divorced his wife. This resulted in an increased scrutiny of his involvement with Scientology and the influence that it had on his personal relationships. Although there was a great deal of curiosity from the media, Holmes and Cruz chose to remain silent in public on the specifics of their impending divorce. Suri Holmes was raised in New York by Holmes, who primarily retreated from the spotlight of Hollywood in order to provide her daughter with a life that was more secure and private when she was growing up. Despite the fact that Cruz continued to work in the film business, his personal life continued to be the topic of curiosity and gossip, especially with reference to his continuous involvement with Scientology. The divorce between Holmes and Cruz continues to be one of the celebrity breakups that has received the most attention and analysis in recent times. It brought to light the difficulties that may build up inside high-profile relationships, especially when major external influences, such as religion or public image, are involved. These pressures are frequently never observed by the parties involved. Given the speed and secrecy with which the breakup occurred, as well as the dramatic circumstances under which it took place, it is certain that it will be regarded as a defining point in the lives of both Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes. A number of people saw divorce as a larger statement of the extent that individuals could go to in order to safeguard their autonomy and the well-being of their children, even when confronted with an overwhelming amount of power and influence. The acts of Holmes were seen as a demonstration of the power of a mother's love and her resolve to fight for the future of her kid, regardless of the personal cost that these activities may have incurred. Taking this perspective into consideration, the divorce between Holmes and Cruz is not just a tale of a marriage coming to an end. Rather, it is a tale of a woman reclaiming her life and declaring her independence in the most public of ways. In the years that followed the divorce, Tom Cruise's professional life maintained its upward trajectory, as if it had not been affected by the personal agony that had been shown in such a public manner. It was the Mission Impossible series in particular that cemented his position as one of the most dependable and bankable performers in Hollywood. Cruise's dedication to executing his own stunts earned him a reputation as one of the most committed performers in the business. Each chapter of the series was received with critical praise and economic success, and Cruise's personal devotion to completing his own stunts earned him this reputation. Because of his eagerness to test the limits of physical endurance, he often put his own safety in jeopardy for the sake of authenticity, which only served to add to the aura of mystery that surrounded him. However, despite his achievements in the film industry, Cruise's public image continues to be complicated, mostly as a result of his strong links to Scientology. The church, which is notorious for its secrecy and activities that are deemed controversial, has been an essential component of Cruise's life for many years. While his continuous support for Scientology has garnered both respect and condemnation, it has also been a source of honor. Cruz is seen as a hero by his followers inside the church. He is a person who has given a substantial amount of attention and respectability to their cause. On the other hand, his participation with Scientology has often prompted inquiries from the general public about his private life and the degree to which the church has an impact on the choices he makes. The mystery that surrounds Cruz's relationship with his daughter, Suri, has also been a source of persistent curiosity. The fact that Cruz has had minimal contact with Suri after the divorce is a scenario that many people feel is tied to Holmes's departure from Scientology. Reports imply that Cruz has lost communication with Suri. The disconnection policy of the church, which entails breaking relationships with those who quit the church or criticize it, has been suggested as a probable cause for the alienation between the two groups. Despite the fact that Cruz has never addressed these claims in public, the fact that he does not seem to have a connection with his daughter has left an everlasting impact on his public character. After the divorce, Katie Holmes, on the other hand, went in a completely different direction. Cruz, on the other hand, elected to live a more quiet life and concentrate on her position as a mother to Suri, in contrast to Holmes, who chose to stay firmly in the public glare. The choice that Holmes made to put her daughter's health and happiness ahead of the temptation of Hollywood was a conscious one, and it reflected her wish to provide Suri with a life that was as normal as possible given the circumstances. When Holmes relocated to New York City, she and Suri established a lifestyle that was more grounded and less monitored than they had previously been. In several interviews, Holmes has expressed her belief that it is of utmost significance to bring up Suri in a setting that is not subject to the intense scrutiny that had surrounded them during her marriage to Cruz. A statement made by Holmes once emphasized her dedication to shielding Suri from the pressures that come with being the kid of two superstars. "I want my daughter to have a stable and innocent childhood," she said. In spite of the fact that she has continued to work in the entertainment business, Holmes's projects have been more selective and have received less attention than they did during the time that she was working with Cruz. A movie that was commended for its sincere depiction of a mother-daughter connection, a topic that obviously connected with her own experiences, was the indie film All We Had, which she directed and starred in 2016. The film received accolades for its honest representation of the relationship. Holmes has also made appearances in a number of other films and television series. Nevertheless, she has managed to strike a delicate balance between her professional life and the obligations she has as a mother, never allowing one to take precedence over the other. In addition to her work life, Holmes was constantly reinventing herself. Her tale became a mirror of the hardships that women face in gaining autonomy and respect. And as a result, she became a symbol of independence and resiliency, especially among women. Widespread adoration was bestowed upon her as a result of her unassuming fortitude and her reluctance to be defined by her previous connection with Cruz. The fact that Holmes was able to build out a new life for herself and her daughter, away from the influence of Scientology and the demands of Hollywood, is sometimes seen as a victory of personal willpower. The tale of Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes serves as a reminder that behind every headline and paparazzi photograph, there are real lives being lived, with real people going through real hardships, making real decisions, and experiencing real repercussions. The fact that even those who seem to have everything, fame, fortune, and beauty, are not immune to the difficulties that come with love, family, and personal belief systems are brought into sharper focus by this. At this point, when their daughter Suri Cruz enters maturity, the narrative takes a fresh and unexpected turn. After years of silence, Suri suddenly comes out at the age of 18, confirming the accusations that have been circulating about her family. To listen to her side of the tale, you may do so by clicking on the video that is now available on the screen. It is imperative that you witness this moment from her point of view because it reveals the reality that only she can uncover. I appreciate you staying with the video to the very end, and I hope to chat with you again in the future.